A boy and his grandmother uncover a plot by secret witches to turn children into mice. Why? Let's read The Witches and find out. Welcome back to BG's Books. I'm Mr. BG, and today I will be reviewing The Witches by Roald Dahl. So, as you guys know, of course, I'm kind of a Roald Dahl fan as of late. I read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and that book was incredible. And then later on, I read Matilda, and that was also incredible. And then just earlier this year, I read Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, which was the sequel to Chocolate Factory. And that one was just insane. But I've returned for a fourth time to Roald Dahl, but this time it is The Witches. And I gotta say, The Witches is a book I basically knew nothing about. I didn't grow up watching the movie like I sort of did with Chocolate Factory, like I did that one time with Matilda, and I didn't. And I at least kind of knew somewhat about what Great Glass Elevator would have been about, as it was a sequel to Chocolate Factory. But so with The Witches, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But wow, what a ride, I gotta say. It is quite enjoyable. But anyway, to avoid spoilers, I'm going to cut off this little introduction segment here so that we can get right on into the summary of The Witches. So, let's do that. So, The Witches begins with our unnamed narrator as he is living with his grandmother due to his parents unfortunately passing away in a car crash. But anyway, so he kind of grows up with his grandmother telling him stories about this little group of evil women called witches. And basically, they hate children and they plot to turn children into mice and then have them, like, die or something. Kind of dark, but, you know, it's Roald Dahl, so we're not exactly straying far from what Roald Dahl would write about. Anyway, so I don't quite remember every single thing that how you can spot witches, but I remember a few things. For one thing, they don't have fingernails, they have claws instead, so they wear gloves to cover that. They don't have hair, so they cover that with wigs that give them rashes on their head. Their nostrils are slightly larger than human nostrils, I guess. And then their eyes can, like, change color or something. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, if you see any of these signs or even all these signs, you better run because witches are bad news. So anyway, our nameless narrator just kind of grows up hearing these, and he's definitely interested by them. But also, what I forgot to mention is that his grandmother is Norwegian, and so he loves to live in Norway with his grandmother. But part of his parents' will says that they have to move to England so that he can go to school there and stuff. So they're just like, well, that's unfortunate, but I guess we gotta honor that. So anyway, years pass, and the grandmother gets sick with pneumonia, but she does get over it. But long story short, they can't go on their yearly summer trip to Norway like normal. So the best place they can go is this hotel in the south of England. So they go to the south of England, and then while there, our narrator brings over two pet mice that he has, and while playing with them in a room, he accidentally stumbles upon a convention of the witches led by the Grand High Witch herself. And basically, she's like wearing this whole disguise that makes her look human and stuff. And basically, this is kind of a long-winded convention, but basically, the Grand High Witch unveils a thing that she made called something 86 Delayed Action Mouse Maker. Basically, it's the serum that turns children into mice when an alarm clock goes off. As you're cooking it, you set an alarm clock, and then when that clock goes off, the child turns to mouse. So anyway, yesterday she gave this child named Bruno this delayed mouse maker stuff, and then, sure enough, when the alarm clock goes off, he turns into a mouse. But that, unfortunately, isn't the end of it. The witches smell out that there is another child in the midst, which is, of course, our narrator. So they find him and then forcefully feed him a whole bunch of this delayed mouse maker stuff to where the clock doesn't even work, and he just turns into a mouse instantly. But the good thing about these mice is that they're basically just kind of humans in mice clothing, I guess you could say. So they still have all their thoughts, they have all their emotions, and they still have their voice. So anyway, after the witches leave, the narrator takes Bruno up to meet his grandma, and then his grandmother's like, okay, well, that's a little weird, but you're still my grandson, so I'm going to take care of you. So the rest of the book is just them planning to take down the witches. And so they basically plan to turn the witches into mice themselves. And through a couple of circumstances, they not only get the delayed action mouse maker thing, but they also head down to the dining room where all the witches are having a meeting. And our narrator puts that into all the soup that the witches are having. So long story short, the witches all eat the soup, they all turn into mice, and then the chaos, both the hotel guests and the cooks kill them all, and then our narrator and the grandma return home. But our narrator's still a mouse. So we also learned that humans as mice will live longer than regular mice, but not as long as regular humans. So our narrator, he's about 7 years old, so he only will live about another 8 or 9 years. And he's fine with that because his grandma will live about another 8 or 9 years. And he doesn't want to outlive her because he doesn't want anyone else to take care of him besides her. So anyway, he's fine with his new life as a mouse. She's fine with raising him even though he's a mouse. So anyway, basically, the grandmother impersonates the Norwegian chief of police because you can do that. Anyway, and so she finds out that the new Grand High Witch, because it's like a succession system, lives in a castle in Norway. So basically, the grandma and the narrator now devote the rest of their lives to taking down every witch they can possibly find to eradicate the entire world of witches. And that is how The Witches ends. So that was the story of the witches, guys, and that was just so fun to read. I know that it was kind of weird and stuff in places, but, you know, Roald Dahl is like no stranger to being weird and stuff in places. You've seen my other 3 reviews on his books, you get the gist. But anyway, so, of course, Roald Dahl just cannot miss so far. I am 4 for 4 with him so far. Of the 4 stuff I've read from him, he has not had a bad book. And another thing I will say is that out of all of his books that I've read too, The Witches is the most one that has sequel potential. Even more so than Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which did get a sequel that also hinted at a sequel that never happened. But anyway, besides that, The Witches, of course, it ends with them devoting their lives to taking down the rest of the witches of the world. So honestly, I would have liked there to be a sequel of them taking down all the witches of the world, or at least like maybe a series of books about like each continent or each country having a different witch that they need to take down or something. I think that would have been really fun, and that would definitely have kept me engaged. I do, however, think The Witches is kind of the most boring of Roald Dahl's books, but it's not even really that boring. It's just kind of the more slowly paced, because usually his books have like a lot more like unrealistic stuff and humor to keep you going, and then this one is fairly realistic, I would say. Fairly, a little bit. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. It's not the most action heavy, but it's certainly a very fun time. But so yeah, anyway, everyone, please go read The Witches. I also hear that they made some movies about it, once in 90 and then another one in 2020, I believe. So I don't know. I've never seen those before, but now I want to because of the book's premise and stuff. I love that. So yeah, I guess maybe I'll be on the lookout for the movies in the future. But another thing I will say is that I definitely want to keep going with Roald Dahl. I keep hearing good things about Roald Dahl. I mean, he hasn't missed so far. But the next books I want to get to in Roald Dahl are between James the Giant Peach and the BFG. Let me know which one you would want me to review first. I don't have either of them. But I know that he also made Fantastic Mr. Fox, as well as a bunch of others that I haven't experienced yet. But so yeah, please let me know what Roald Dahl books you would want to see me review next. But in the meantime, please go read The Witches. It is a very fun ride, and I promise you will not be disappointed. But anyway, guys, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of The Witches by Roald Dahl. As I said, please stick around for more reviews, not only on Roald Dahl, but just in books in general in the future. But yeah, I love every single one of you. That is the end of this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. I'm getting very close to 400 subscribers, so I would love to reach that by the end of the year. But anyway, yeah, I will be working on the next book review very soon because, as I said in the last video, I have read 2 more books since then, or 3 if you count Carrie, which I won't do another video on. But yeah, so stay tuned for the next book review coming very soon. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.
Look, it's a human.
Hey,
Get
wait.
him!
No! Don't turn me into a mouse! No! Dang it, I'm a mouse. Whew! That was a close one.